And again, you see really the ACT is really telling the same story as the SAT chart. Okay, now let's look at some other data that we have. Some of this goes back to 2010 because it lags a little bit. This is the percent of graduates who attend post-secondary training full-time or part-time in the year following graduation. And it's by classes, class of 2008, class of 2009. This is the National Clearinghouse data that we use. It's become pretty good data now. It's not 100% accurate, but it's accurate enough to have a good baseline and to see the trends. That's the report we did each year. It's broken down by district, and then it's also broken down by our high school campus. So, interesting, fits down here. We have about 66, 71 after 2 years. Class of 2009 is 69% who were enrolling in the fall after they graduate. And then, but look at the ethnicity numbers. Look at the differences from 88% Anglo, 81% Asian, 64% African American, which is a substantial jump from the class before, and then 51% Hispanic. So again, a really pretty significant gap between our Hispanic students and the overall average. This is rigorous course enrollment. These are percent of secondary students in grades 6 through 12 who are enrolled in at least one pre-AP, IB, dual credit course. And so we were 50%, 47, 46. We're trending down there, so the trend is down in those enrollments. I'm more interested when I look at this data in trends than I am in the actual results sometimes, because the trends tell you if you're trending in the wrong direction, you need to pay attention to that, and you need to be working on it. If you're trending in the right direction, you need to maintain enhance. So I like to look at the trends over time. AP IB performance, percent of tested students who are getting a 3 or higher, or 4 on the IB exam. That's increased over time. Look at the states at 51, and we're at 68. So significantly higher than the state. SAT, ACT percent tested, we've maintained in the mid-80s. Texas is at 62. The target's 87. So we do have a substantial number of kids who are taking the exam, which is good. The performance, if you use meeting the criterion score, kind of college readiness criterion score on the SAT, ACT, they're 47, 43, 45, 45, so maintain at 45, target 60, look at the state, 27%. College ready graduates. So this is percent who are college ready, so that can be the score on the TAKS, it can be the score on their SAT, ACT. So again, data we should feel good about, trending in the right direction, 64 to 71, 62 to 73 on math, 85 for target, 75 for target, and then Texas we see 62 to 60. So again, our percent kids who are college ready substantially higher than others. K-2 reading benchmarks, 64, 71, 77%, developing as expected or higher. And K-2 reading. Now we like the trend here. The trend looks good, but you wonder. You remember this is given by the instructor themselves, given by the teacher. And if you look at third grade reading, or if you look at second grade Stanford, I don't know how well the correlation. I know Keith's department does some great correlations between the reading levels that are given on the reading assessment. I think they provided that this year at elementary, and the Stanford results. So we'll continue looking at that, but we like the trend, we should feel good about that. But again, any improvement in learning should translate to any type of assessment. Okay, so true improvement in learning should translate to any assessment. We have our developmental assets, and we've been trending positive in that area of kids who are reporting assets, percent of assets reported by students. Climate climate survey. We don't have we will be adding this year. Obviously, I would think it would take a dip from just the things we've had to go through as a system in the last year, but it's trended up. So, what conclusions can you draw from all that data? So what from all the kind of the results I've showed you from the last year, what conclusions can you draw from that? The system's working for some and not for all. Good point. What else? Still room to grow, so we still have areas that we definitely can improve on. Right? What else? Yeah. Compared to the state, we're good. So when you look at comparative data, we're trending ahead in almost every standard that the state has. Yeah.
The smaller the compartment, the bigger the growth.
The smaller the compartment, the bigger the growth, so you see greater growth in areas that are more compact as far as the area. What else? And natural comparisons, that's a good interesting thing, because actually, later on, I've got a couple of slides that will look at some natural comparisons.
Since minority is now a majority when it comes to population statistics, we're 52% or higher Hispanic. We aren't taking care of the majority of our students in the system.
So not taking care, even though our majority of students are minority groups are not necessarily taking care of our majority of students. I think you could draw the conclusion, kind of the same thing to run with from that, is you've got to be careful that because our Anglo student scores and all those Anglo lines are high on all those charts, that it's not, that the overall percentage that's better than the state and maybe better than the nation in some regard is not masking things underneath it. I mean, so you've got to, when you look at 57% of our kids being Hispanic, but 51% of our Hispanic kids enrolling in college the fall after they graduate, compared to 88% or 35% of our kids, how much of that 88% is making that overall number look fairly good and kind of making us feel a little better about what we do than maybe we should in certain areas? So you have to make sure that you're not using, that's one reason the state disaggregates data, is that so you really will pay attention to all kids and not let an overall all student score make you feel really good, and then you have some real gaps in learning in some other areas. Now, I think the state just uses that and they then translate that to ratings, but the concept of disaggregation is very important so that you're looking at every kid. What else? Other conclusions from the data? Yeah. Yeah, is our focus too narrow, or kind of is our focus too narrow? And maybe the question is, so how do we do this thing called education and try to really make sure that the kids' learning is so strong that they really can perform in whatever assessment they take? What else? Other thoughts?
In college, how are the Hispanic and the African American students performing? Do you have data that their freshman year, are they being as successful, or is it harder? Because that data is telling me that the Asian and the white students, according to the scores, their percent on that is very high, so they should be very successful in their freshmen, whereas the other two, I would question their success.
So we'll look at some college completion rates up in a lot. I don't necessarily have it broken down by ethnicity, but we'll look at that piece too. Good points. What else? Any other conclusions you can draw from that information? Let me take you to this concept. At the visioning, we had 6 days, I think it was 6 days, 3 weekends of visioning work with our visioning team made up of teachers and students and parents and community members and staff members. We had this large group that looked at where do we want to go with our next 5-year plan, going into effect next July. And so, in part of that, I gave part of this presentation. I wanted all of you to hear this today. And as we were looking at the information, we were looking at where the plan may take us in the future. And you look at the work that Collins did, I really think it really is a good picture. It's a very, not a theoretical, it's a real-life picture of what I would consider good to great. So the question that poses is, first of all, what is a really good system? So what's a good education system? And I would say a good education system looks like this. 89% graduation rate, 84% taking SAT, ACT, 61% college ready, 62% enrolled in higher ed, 36% completing a higher ed degree. Compared to the state and national data, all those would be ahead of that data.